after Trump leaves in 3 years, will there be like a series of Trumps, or will the party revert to what it was?
Will the Republican Party revert to what it was before Trump? First of all, I think Trump is such an unusual person that I don't think he can really be replicated, even if, no matter how hard anyone tries. He came to prominence because he had an incredible amount of, what used to be called brass at a time when brass was what was required. There are other people who have sort of who seem to have more of the qualifications that a politician would require. That is, like patience and like an understanding of policy and things like that. You had people like Ron DeSantis seem to be offering that to the Republican Party for a while, but it's not what the country felt it needed. The country felt it needed brass. The country felt it needed someone to come in and insult, topple, and break the old establishment.
Was that establishment broken, like after Trump?
Well, it's still in progress. I think this is something you know a lot more about than I do, but I mean, if I look at Trump 1, I would say that it was an almost utter failure on Trump's own terms. That is, he used that list that Leonard Leo and others had given him to fortify the Supreme Court as a more or less conservative force, and he nominated a lot of judges. But I don't think that he ever understood where the actual levers of power in the government were. And so the same deep state that he had complained about was as strong on the day he left office as it was on the day that he arrived. And so one had the impression that he'd learned absolutely nothing. And so what has happened under Trump 2 is one of the most astonishing surprises in the history of American politics. Now, in Brexit, you had a guy who was kind of a genius in the workings of British government named Dominic Cummings, who was able to say, well, no, you don't need to win a majority in Parliament on this one. You just need to control the cabinet office, etc. Trump never had such a person, but apparently, and the details are still not clear how, apparently he acquired one or several in the course of his 4 years out of power. I think Steve Bannon is correct to say that the 4 years out of power were in Trumpian terms were a great blessing for him. So there's someone, maybe Steve Miller is a candidate for this, who has the most tremendous Machiavellian understanding of what can be done inside government. The speed with which USAID was dismantled, which in what seems to me, it was not really a cost-saving operation. It was like a purge of a certain tendency in government, was really, whatever you think of it as an ideological operation, it was a tremendously expert operation in terms of government rejiggering. The executive orders that he has, canceled, and the new ones that he has passed in order to give a new reading to affirmative action. And I would say that that affirmative action was in many ways the key institution of American government of the last half century. To render it inoperative, even if he hasn't fully killed it, is a constitutional revolution. So Yeah, things are still in progress. It's very difficult to see whether an operation like, say, deportations, whether that is going to accelerate or whether Trump is really running out of gas and this is going to. But it's hard to see how it will proceed from here. But it's been a huge change. He's turned out to be a very significant president.
We're sorry to say it, but this is not a very safe country. Walk through Oakland or Philadelphia. Yeah, good luck. So most people, when they think about this, want to carry a firearm, and a lot of us do. The problem is there can be massive consequences for that. Ask Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse got off in the end, but he was innocent from the first moment. It was obvious on video, and he was facing life in prison anyway. That's what the anti-gun movement will do. They'll throw you in prison for defending yourself with a firearm. And that's why a lot of Americans are turning to Byrna. It's a proudly American company. Byrna makes self-defense launchers that hundreds of law enforcement departments trust. They've sold over 600,000 pistols, mostly to private citizens who refuse to be empty-handed. These pistols, and I have one, fire rock-hard kinetic rounds or tear gas rounds and peppered projectiles, and they stop a threat from up to 60 feet away. There are no background checks. There are no waiting periods. Byrna can ship it directly to your door. You can't be arrested for defending yourself with a Byrna pistol. Visit Byrna, BYRNA.com, or your local Sportsman's Warehouse to get yours today. Byrna.com.
It just seems like the spread between what people want and what they're getting grows wider every year. People seem to hate mass migration everywhere in the world. I don't think there's a single person who likes mass migration, really. And you can tell by their behavior. Yeah. Certainly true in this country. I think people have an expectation of sovereignty, which almost no country has. Like, a country gets to make its own decisions, but that's not in practice happening anywhere, with only, a few exceptions. And so there's so much frustration about that I'm wondering what's the point where it bubbles up into something unmanageable?
Well, a couple of things. I'm not sure that I think that the gap between what people want and what they're getting is wide, but I'm not sure that it's widening. I mean, the election of Trump was certainly a call for more action against mass migration.
Yes.
And since he's been elected, the border has been pretty much closed. There have been deportations. There have been, certainly the rhetorical stance of the administration is against migration. I mean, Trump may disappoint his voters on other things, but on that one thing, which I think we agree is like a really central issue, actually the will of the people and the actions of the government have kind of converged.
I agree with that.
If there were to be, as I've just described, a conservative government in England, and it abolished the Human Rights Act, which would allow Britain to act in a fully sovereign way, then the way would be wide open to deporting people who did not have the right to be there, and certainly to stopping the ongoing traffic of small boat migration in England. So I think it is. I think it's possible things are getting better from a Democratic point of view. You also said, okay, so at what point does this explode? I'm not sure it does, because one of the things that makes things explode is discontent in numerous and dynamic classes. And that's why, the Arab world was so unruly throughout the 1980s and the 1990s, because this was a part of the world in which people were having like 6 or 8 or 10 kids, and there was no place to put these young men. And there was a lot of martial dynamism in these societies. And in fact, wherever you have a lot of young people. If you look at the United States in the 60s and 70s, you have a lot of disorder and rebellion. But we're not societies like that anymore. We are top-heavy societies full of old, wobbly people. And these are not the kind of societies that say, darn it, I've had enough. These are people who need, I mean, the demographic heart of our societies is in people who are of an age where they need care, not where they're going to run out into the street shaking their fists.
When the children of the latest wave of migrants to the United States are 18, so that'll be in 15 years, then you're going to have a really dynamic society. You're going to have a lot of people born in this country to immigrant parents who feel like they want a piece of it, and you're going to have massive change, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. And that, I think, that's why I've tended to look at this, what's happening now with arguments over the border and with Trump as part of a process that will come to resemble, about a century later, the process that led to the New Deal. I mean, because I think the New Deal was the consolidation of a new governing system in a way that took account of the waves of migration that had changed the country between 1880 and 1920. We look at our present demographic change and we say, oh my goodness, things are really, what country has ever faced anything like this? And it's really, there really is there are really a lot of points of contact between what has happened with us and what happened to the country between 1880 and 1920.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.